The robbery happened at Wells Fargo Bank in St. Louis Park, Minnesota. My job at the bank at that time was a consumer loan officer. I had an office in the back of the bank. The robber came in and started screaming at the top of his lungs, and he pointed a gun at the tellers. He had a big bag, and he asked the tellers to put all their money into the bag on the top and bottom drawer. I actually had one of the tellers in my office, and she was talking to me, and she got really scared, and she actually hid underneath the desk. And another teller came back in and was crying because she just had gotten a drink of water, and she was coming back, and she kind of hid in my office too. There was three other tellers at the front, and they both had guns pointed at their heads. I was actually pretty calm. As a bank employee, we're actually trained in robbery scenarios. So the main thing, if a robber comes into the bank, you comply 100% with their demands. You don't question them. You don't rile them up, anything. You just give them what they want. So we have what's called a robbery in the box. What an employee is supposed to do is to take mental pictures of the robber, some identifying marks like tattoos, piercings, if you can see their hair, their eyes, how tall they are. And then after the robber left, we lock the doors. We put signs up that the bank is closed, and we actually quarantine off where the robber was with caution tape. And soon after, it was probably about 45 minutes, the FBI showed up and interviewed each one of us individually. At that time, the FBI agent came into my office and asked me what I saw, and questioned me on height, just basically the standard procedures, weight, what did you see, what was your interpretation of the robbery at that time. I'm not sure why they picked our bank. St. Louis Park in Minnesota is a suburb in the western Minneapolis area, and at the time it was very affluent. There was a good mixture of population at that time. I don't know exactly why our bank was picked. It was on a busy highway, so maybe it was just an escape route. I have no idea. At the time, it made me question living up in the Twin Cities. Growing up in Iowa, it was, you kind of knew everybody and knew where people were and their last names, and you knew their families and stuff like that. In the Twin Cities, you don't get that small town feel like you do in Iowa. So it was more of a wake-up call to move back to Iowa at that time. It comes up every once in a while. We talk about robberies all the time, and in the bank we have training once a year. And at that time, I've always been like, I've been in a robbery, so people are like, "What was that like?" So I kind of tell them at that time.